And today we're going to look at cloud security compliance. Let me get some more light on my face because it's a bit dark in here. There, how's this? Ooh, much better. I don't know if you like this, but looks better. So, cloud security compliance. Cloud security compliance is obviously a very broad topic that we're all that touches upon each and every one of us. It's basically the principle that cloud delivered systems they must be compliant with the standards those require, and that depends on the country you live in, the jurisdiction you're in, for instance, the industry you're in. It depends on a whole lot of things. Cloud compliance ensures that cloud computing services meet compliance requirements. That's what it's for. So cloud compliance is more of an art quite often than a science. Let me pull up the whole hairball here. That's what you got on the screen. This is all you need to cover for cloud security compliance. It's more of an art than a science of complying with a regulatory standards of cloud usage in according to industry guidance and local, national, and also international laws. So not just local, but also international laws and national laws. Now, if you look at the standards that are out there in security compliance land, cloud computing security land, there's a couple of them. ISO was one of the very first ones to start out with that. ISO, International Standards Organization. A big one is the 27001. That's one that we've covered in one of the earlier videos. You can scroll down and have a look there. It's most widely used of all ISO cloud requirements. They've got a couple more ISO, but this one is designed for application within organizations of any size. It's a list with standard things that you need to be doing. It lists the requirements for handling all phases from creation to maintenance of information management systems. That's what it does. And it's been around since 2013, so a fairly sturdy and decent standard. Other standards in the ISO arena are to have a look at is 27017, 27018, and 38550. They all deal with information technology security, and a lot of that is obviously cloud security. Other areas that have decent compliance projects going on that you need to look at. FISMA, for instance, Federal Information Security Management Act, have a look there. A whole list of things you can be covering. An oldie but goldie is PCI DSS, for instance, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, if you deal with payment data. And if you deal with credit cards, there's a whole lot of details in there on how to make sure that that information is secure. The original Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 covers a lot of data security and how to deal with that. So you can grab a lot of stuff out of that one, which also gives you an idea of this is actually a law that we need to abide to when you're in the United States. FedRAMP, a Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program, another one. CMMC is another one. GDPR, you might have heard of that one. General Data Protection Regulation of Europe, protect data from European citizens, wherever it maybe in the world. When you're in health data, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So these are just some of the standards that are out there. Another big one for cloud security vendors themselves is SOC 2. SOC 2 Type 2 report is a thing that they come across quite often, which is an international control report capturing how that company, a SaaS company, safeguards customer data and how well these controls are operating. Companies that use cloud service providers, they often use SOC 2 reports to assess and address the risks associated with third-party technology services. So that's what's that for. And we see that a lot in our business as well, the SOC 2 Type 2 reports that are being requested a lot. So in a nutshell, there's a lot available that you can learn from, and that's why I started out with saying cloud compliance is the art and science of complying with regulatory standards in accordance with industry guidelines and local, national, and international laws. There's a whole gamut of areas that you need to look at when you're dealing with cloud computing security, cloud security compliance, so not just the one thing. Now, fortunately for you, on your screen right here, you can see the whole thing that you need to focus on when you're dealing with cloud security compliance. What you're looking at here are the contents of the Kanban. In the link below, you can find it in the bar here, cloud security compliance at store.theouterservice.com. There is the Kanban that you can play around with, filter, search, read, scroll, all this data is in there. We've taken that data and pushed it into what you're looking at here, which is a knowledge graph, a knowledge database. And this is built in Neo4j, which is the leading knowledge database graph tool available. So that's what you're looking at right now. The colors and the sizes of the balls are different here, and I'm going to walk you through that quite quickly. What we're looking at here in the middle, the big blue balls, those are the use cases, so the activities that you really need to be focusing on when you're doing cloud security compliance, and we've prioritized those. When I say we, I mean the AI and the machine learning that we've built that has created the critical capabilities, B, created the questions, which are the ping balls that are related to each and every critical capability to ensure that you know what you're doing, that's the activity itself is in place. Another thing that we see here are the orange balls around here. The orange balls are the job roles that you need to have in place for this activity to be successful, this use case to be successful, which are quite often used as well to define job roles in organizations, make sure that the accountabilities are in place and the responsibilities are in place for that job role in an organization. But it's also helpful for when you're applying for a job role and you want to figure out what type of questions are being asked, what kind of responsibilities will I have in that role. Another thing that we're seeing here is red balls, and the red balls are the 48 most important questions to ask when you're dealing with cloud security compliance. I send these out as well on a daily basis in my LinkedIn mail out, which has over 4,000 subscribers now. If you haven't yet, subscribe, and you'll get the daily email, which will give you insight in the 48 most important questions to ask from an auditing perspective for one topic, and answers to address those are in there as well. Now, let me show you because that's what we came here for, didn't we? The 3 most important questions to ask when you're dealing with cloud security compliance. A bit of a tongue breaker, cloud security compliance. Let's start with question number 3. Pull that up on the screen. There we go. Boom. Cloud security compliance. When adopting a cloud service, the features and functionality may be well displayed. But what about details or compliance of internal security procedures, configuration hardening, and patching? Look further than the service. That's what we're saying here. That's what this question actually means. Dive deeper. And when you go down that rabbit hole, you're actually looking for evidence of this. You verify that your group is involved in monitoring and managing cloud security operations, including identity and access control needs to be in place. Secure configuration management needs to be in place. So what items are where and how are they related to each other. Network security, enforcement policy scripting, which is usually built in the tools that you use for SIEM, for example, SIEM, and identity and access management. Workload security, data security, and logging. Logging, very important here. When you have to deal with compliance to figure out if we comply, you can hand over evidence of that compliance. Or public key infrastructure management and data encryption for data at rest and data in transit. So data encryption for data at rest and in transit, that's something that's being used more and more and more. Data in transit has always been encrypted fairly soon already when it started out. But data at rest is something that's definitely being encrypted more and more and more. So when an attacker gets to it, then it's encrypted. There's not much you can do. When I double click on this one, I can see more. I can see this is related to a related area. Like I said, we have related areas to the main topic of cloud security compliance that you need to have a look at as well. And this one is safety critical systems, for instance, within SCADA or plants, those types of organizations. You can see here it's a must-have. We have all our priorities organized into 5 different prioritization sets, basically. And the prioritization sets, they start with must-have. So these are the ones that you definitely should have and must have in place. You can see it in the Kanban as well. If you go to the link below, The Kanban will have for each activity, is this a must-have, the number one to do, or is it after that a should-have? We actually should be doing this. That's the second layer. The third layer is ought to have. We could look into that. The fourth layer is might have. Yeah, let's consider. Maybe we'll have that. And the fifth level is could. Fifth level is could have. So we have must have, should have. Let's go up. Must have, should have, ought to have, might have, and could have. Those are the 5 layers of prioritization built in. This is one of the must have categories, which makes sense. Another question I can ask here to verify if we're doing this is, can the selected security controls achieve the desired level of assurance, to make sure that we actually have this in place and we know what the security controls are to achieve the desired level of assurance. And that question I can ask that of the security cloud solution architect. So see, this is all how everything is related in here in the Kanban and in this knowledge graph that we're looking at right here. While I'm talking to the security cloud solution architect, I might as well ask him a couple more questions that are relevant to this role, to this task, and to the role. Do the cloud providers' practices, policies, and systems comply with all applicable laws? Has your organization adopted a mobile platform, launched social media initiatives, or embraced cloud computing? You want to figure out any and all areas in your organization where you're actually using cloud compliance, and you want to make sure that you're covering all of your compliance issues and there's nothing left, no stone left unturned, because your organization is out in the woods when you have a problem with one of your compliance issues that you didn't know. There might be a separate team somewhere using a cloud solution for a critical application that's not under control of governance, risk, and compliance. You might run into an issue there. What about cloud-specific indicators? Question to ask, etc. So this is the out of the top 3 most important questions to ask. The third one. Let's go to the number 2 most important question to ask in cloud security compliance. We have this one, hardening, patching, just go deeper. Do you understand your cloud security and compliance needs and gaps? Do you actually understand them? How do you actually focus on them? Assure your organization is involved in making recommendations for resolving security compliance gaps and requirements for multiple platforms that utilize a common cloud infrastructure that organization and corporate internal customers leverage as an enterprise compute environment. Sounds like a very fancy description or definition actually of how we're going to use cloud computing in our organization. But when I put this in place, I definitely need to be able to understand my cloud security and compliance needs and gaps. And I can use this whole Kanban to dive deeper into that. The question I can ask here is, and I mentioned the logs before already, which are really important with cloud security compliance. Do you know how to get logs from various cloud providers as Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure or GCP, Google Cloud Platform, or Oracle? And it's interesting what pops up here. Let's ask that of the regulatory affairs specialist. So when our data is out there on the street, what kind of incident management process do we have in place to make sure that we can deal with this? And we see that a lot these days, that there are breaches and organizations need to dive into how will we approach the media and our clients to explain what's going on. Some of them do it too late. It's hard to get it right, that's for sure. But you need to be prepped when you do this. You can have those scenarios already somewhere ready and just ready to pull out for when it's necessary. Just think of obituaries. When a famous movie star passes away and he's in his 90s, you'll see the obituaries appearing right away, that very moment, which means that they have been written before the incident took place. And you can do the same actually with cloud security compliance and dealing with incident management and critical incidents by preparing your statements, making sure you got that ready to pull out of a drawer and you're not in a rush or a hurry or in stress when you're doing that. Now, let's go and have a look at the number 1 most important question to ask. Does the cloud provide adequate security for network access and authentication? Well, that's a rabbit hole that we can dive into when we do cloud security compliance. Let's see what it comes up with. Liaison so that your personnel provides ongoing knowledge transfer to team members and internal clients on data and cloud security products and standards. So an ongoing stream of knowledge that you need to have in your organization to make sure that you actually can test your cloud provider if they have an adequate security for network access and authentication. So don't just trust blindly your cloud provider, but definitely ensure that you've got the means to audit your cloud provider to make sure that they are actually auditable and they are doing the right things in relationship to what you need for your organization and for your legal requirements. Is cloud security training critical for your team's development? Is a question you can ask. You see, this is a must-have, a high priority one. Related to security, operation strategy, because it was the personnel in security environment, operation strategy. So these are the top three. I'm pulling them all up. I clicked the wrong one. I clicked cloud security compliance, then we get to see all of them, which we don't want right now because that'll clutter up our screen. So these are the cloud security compliance, the top three main activities that we need to focus on. And I can also get the job roles in there. So we have the whole overview. There we go. So if I were to focus on cloud security compliance, the three most important questions, these three here, and this is our topic there. These three are most important questions. What we have on the screen now is all the activities that definitely need to be in place to make sure that these questions can be answered. All the job roles that it touches on, the job roles that we can ask other questions of while we're talking to them, and the main areas that we need to be focusing on for those three most important questions. So here we have the main area, cloud security compliance, operation strategy, safety critical systems, plans, SCADA systems, for instance. If I click on this one, double click on the operation strategy, up come all the other activities that I need to focus on when I'm doing cloud security compliance for operations strategy. See, this is how it's all related. So here's my blueprint right away. When I start out with the top three most important questions to ask in cloud security compliance. Definitely put those activities in place. Also, I can show you all of the 48 most important questions. So these are the 48 most important questions to ask. And I'll pan over them so you can have a look in the replay or right now if you want to. See if I'm on full screen. Yep, I'm on full screen. So you can actually go there yourself and have a look at all these most important questions to ask. What security and compliance certifications does a cloud provider hold? Will the cloud service provider allow CSA, Cloud Security Alliance, and FBI to conduct compliance and security audits? Do you audit the cloud provider's data security performance, etc., etc.? And I can also, here we see SOC 2 Type 2, GDPR and FedRAMP, and dive into one priority question. Verify your group ensures compliance with audit security and regulatory requirements. And this is an interesting one. The question I'm being asked here, can Oracle Cloud help with maintaining security compliance? Which makes sense because I'm going to ask of my vendor as well, what do you have in place? All large vendors are definitely very, very, very in-depth, well-versed with their cloud security requirements and have all this under control. And most of them actually have it readily available on their website. You can just have a look at them and scroll through. So these are the top 48 most important questions to ask when you're dealing with cloud security compliance. This is the information that goes out in the daily email. Also, where did these questions come from? The whole Kanban and what you saw when we started out with, all the questions, that actually show you the questions that are in the assessment toolkit. The self-assessment toolkit that we have shows us the most important questions. There's 1,000 of them in there, and I've just pulled up two of those most important of those questions related to access control. Why? Because I just want to have a look at if we're focusing on access control in cloud security compliance, what are the areas, what are the questions that I need to be asking? Are all firewall access control lists documented with business justification? asking it of the incident manager. How will the access control to the data and applications be managed? Asking that of the security manager, and this is then what we need to be doing, the activities that we need to be doing. See, it's that simple. I can just focus on one specific area, and so on the Kanban down below, focus on one specific area and pull out what needs to be done and assign those priorities and assign those Kanbans, the swim lanes, to a certain team or person to make sure that our cloud security compliance is in place. So this is how I can focus on just one specific area, or I can focus on one specific, not just a question, but one specific use case. I don't know if we have it. Yeah, we have it. Access control. So I'm just focusing on access control. So these are the top 10, and the outcome 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. The 7 in here that specifically focus on access control when dealing with cloud security compliance. Oversee that your process is managing security operations, including identity and access control. Be confident that your company supports organization surveillance and access control, FOB systems, for instance. Yeah, and it goes on. All right. Now, one of my favorite things in here is what you can see in the Kanban as well, the link down below. Those are the swim lanes. One word that describes what's important in relationship to cloud security compliance. The one word. So we have change, enterprise, transform, maintain, delivery, analysis, operations, forecast, implementation, technologies, etc., etc. Vendor. And this is a way of looking at the data that I quite often pull up in management team meetings and go like, okay, let's just focus on our policies. What do we have in place? Take responsibility to keep up to date with changing regulations and policies. So do we have a process for that? Is someone continuously scanning the horizon to see what's coming up that we need to incorporate in our policies to have cloud security compliance in place in our organization? How do I keep up with changing compliance regulations? Main question to ask. Let's get those people involved: a senior software developer and a senior cybersecurity R&D engineer. I'd get auditing involved here as well from a scanning perspective. They usually have the tools to make sure that you cover everything. So these are the areas that I can cover when I just focus on one specific area. What else is here? Let's go through it and see if we can find something else that's really a roadmap. What's this? What do we have here? Generate migration roadmaps across complex organizational structures. So cloud security compliance is not just a one-off thing. There's also cloud migration involved. There's pockets of old data or applications that we have in our organizations that we still want to migrate. And cloud security compliance comes into play there to actually make sure that once the data is in a cloud environment, that it's compliant. And we have a roadmap for that. So really interesting. These are all the most important words to focus on. And I can just type in and I can just zoom into this and go down this rabbit hole if I want to focus on Agile to make sure that we're covering all this in relationship to cloud security compliance. Now, I've mentioned the related areas that you need to focus on when you're dealing with cloud security compliance, and here they are. These are the related areas: zero trust network, security orchestration, on-demand virtual, on-premises virtual machines, cloud governance, cloud adoption framework, cloud security strategy, etc., etc. I will pan over it. It's in your Kanban as well. These are all the related areas to cloud security compliance that you definitely really need to cover and look into when you're dealing with this. And I can just double click on this and up come, and you know what it's looking like now. Up come the activities that I need to be doing, the questions that I need to be asking, who I need to be asking this question to, and the main related area. And the prioritization in here. So this is a must-have. It's highly prioritized. Make sure that we do this. Establish that your staff topics include zero trust security, container and cloud security, emerging security technologies, and trends. That we cover all that. Make sure. How challenging is it to protect the mobile workforce, especially in these COVID and post-COVID days, the big migration and working from home? That's why the vice president of operations is in there, because there's a lot of HR issues you need to cover in here. Now, if I just want to focus on the top 10 of those related areas, let's see what comes up. Up comes Cloud Security of Excellence, then in place, Cloud Access Security Broker, CASB, AWS IAM or any IAM, Cloud Governance, Cloud Security, Safety Critical Systems, Cyber Threat Intelligence, Security Operations Center, Operations Strategy. These are the areas, the 10 main areas, sub-areas that you need to focus on, or related areas, when I'm dealing with cloud security compliance. So, cyber threat intelligence, there you go. Make sure you're doing this. Defending zero trust architectures and hybrid cloud security services. Yeah. So, all the related areas that we need to cover when we're dealing with cloud security compliance. Let's pull them all up, and there you have them all. And poof, unreadable now, so I'll just zoom in a bit. Makes it a whole lot easier. Now, the top 3 use cases that need to be in place. So we started out with the most important questions to ask, but you can also look at it from another way. Which areas have the highest priorities? Which areas do we really need to focus on to make sure that cloud security compliance is in place in our organization? So we verify that our group is involved in application data security. We do threat intelligence, cloud security configurations, risk assessment, and third-party vendor management. It would be nice to have a security operations center. Is our organization committed to developing and maintaining an information security aware culture? Bam, have that in place. Make sure the security engineering team is responsible for the full lifecycle management of your cloud security solutions, firewalls, secure web gateways, and other key network solutions intended to protect your employees and internal clients. All right, ask, do change management processes include rollback plans or other safety measures? Enterprise architecture, do you know that? Senior cloud security automation engineer, any idea? Focused on the operation strategy, this one. Now, I have another one open. Do we have this one? And that one. So what I have here, now I've opened all of them up, we actually have a blueprint of what we need to be focusing on. Let's open that one up. That one goes here. We've got that one open. We've got that one open. And that one. There we go. So this is the top. These are the top use cases that we need to be focusing on. Not this one because it's a might have. There we go. It came from here. There. These are the top 3. These are the top 3 that we need to be focusing on when we're dealing with cloud security compliance. These 3 areas, the big blue balls, and they're all must-have activities. So what I could be doing, I could be printing this out on an A5 and hang it on my wall. These are the main areas that we need to focus on to ensure that we have cloud security compliance in place. And I'm going to open up the questions as well. So with the questions, we get the job roles that we need to assign them to these activities. So make sure we have those job roles definitely into place. Helpful this to ensure that we're doing the most important activities. And just like we had the top most important questions, what we have here is all the questions that are in the Kanban in the link down below, and in the toolkit that comes with it. The toolkit that you actually, the toolkit that comes with the books as well, that's available. All the questions that are in here. So we have 1,000 unique criteria, 1,000 unique questions related to cloud security compliance, and they're all organized based on their maturity. So the further down you go in your maturity in cloud security compliance, the more specific and in-depth the questions and the criteria become. And I can zoom in so you can have a peek in what's in here. Do you scale on-premise security functions in the cloud? Can the customer restrict the allowable data locations to specific jurisdictions? Do you currently use grid or cloud technologies? What are the key challenges that enterprises are facing around cloud security? So know what others are doing. What are leading causes and risks in cybersecurity? Those are interesting questions to dive into. And with this, I can actually double click as well. And lo and behold, what comes up? Obviously, the criteria to focus on and who to ask that question of. There we go. So can the customer restrict the allowable data locations to specific jurisdictions? Be certain that your design is responsible for analyzing data to validate business domains and requirements of where that data needs to be. all the questions, they're down below in the link to make sure that you're covering everything that you need to be doing. Another way of looking at these questions is, I'm just going to pop that up quickly, is when you see the questions and their related answers, critical capabilities with it as well. I'm just limiting to 100 now. Otherwise, the screen will get overwhelmed with all the data that's in here. So this is the critical capabilities that we need to have in place, the big blue balls for cloud security compliance, and the questions that I need to be asking to make sure that we have those activities in place and we do it well. So that's what we're seeing here. Now, you've seen some of the job roles as well. I wanted to show you this as well. What kind of job roles do we have that are related to cloud security compliance? This is really interesting for me when I want to make sure that I have the right team in place to cover that. These are all actual real job roles out there for organizations that deal with cloud security compliance, which is basically every organization, even me. These are all the job roles that deal with that. I will just manager of cloud security, FinOps consultant, senior cloud security consultant, security engineer, senior cloud architect for cloud services, chief operations officer, and I can double click on these and the questions come up that get asked of this role of this person. Why is this helpful? This is helpful for me to figure out what kind of responsibilities someone needs to have that's in that role, what kind of accountability someone needs to have that's in that role. It's also really helpful for me when I'm looking at changing roles. I want to apply for a role to figure out, hey, what kind of questions will I get asked when I'm going to apply for that role, and what typical answers do I need to put in place to make sure that that question is answered in my organization. So really helpful from different kinds of perspectives to make sure you have the right roles in place and the right responsibilities in place and how they're all aligned. So all the job roles in cloud security compliance, really interesting and useful to me as well. Now, by now you know how everything is connected, how everything works together, and you know the top 3 most important questions to ask in cloud security compliance. Do you understand your cloud security compliance needs and gaps? Does the cloud provider provide adequate security for network access and authentication? And when adopting a cloud service, the features and functionality may be well displayed. But what about details or compliance of internal security procedures, configuration hardening and patching? Dive into the details, often forgotten, or not even forgotten, but swooned by the way everything looks, how smooth it is, and without forgetting to dive into the details. I'm gonna open everything up that's in here, so you get the most important things. You get to see the most important things you need to focus on. These are the 3 most important questions to ask, the answers to those most important questions that you're looking at, and the job roles that are assigned to that, and the prioritizations in the other areas that it looks at. A blueprint for getting your cloud security compliance right. So what we've done here in the full Kanban down below is you see the art of cloud security compliance, art of service, which means that all of the cloud security best practices out there, laws, regulations, it covers all those basically, and it prioritizes them and they're all in there. So there's over 2,000 critical capabilities in the Kanban below. You can play around with them, go to it, have a look, and if you want to buy them want to use them for commercial purposes, you can buy them there and reuse them in any way or form or shape that you actually want to. But for now, they're freely accessible and you can do with them what you like. For now, I'm going to leave you with this. I had a good time. I hope you got value out of it. Let me know. Send me a chat, an email, anything. I'm available. I'm right here. Thank you for this, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Well, where we're going to be doing tomorrow, insider threat prevention strategy. So see you tomorrow. Bye for now.